Hello and welcome to my channel. This is your host, Baby Love Substance, and let's start. Well, continuance to my first story time. So, speaking of narcissism in your lives, or people who come in and just want to do the most to control you or whatnot. So, like I mentioned before, I raised my kids on my own. My parents constantly undermining me. Now my adult children don't respect me, and a partner or who was supposedly supportive, but at the same time criticized, gave me a silent treatment, and then did the most. No matter where I turned, I felt small. It isn't bad luck. Those are narcissistic patterns repeating. If you grew up with narcissistic parents, you may unconsciously end up in relationships where your partner also controls or criticizes you. You find familiarity, right? Patterns, or it just felt like a comfort zone. And then, of course, your adult children repeat patterns you live with. It's not your fault. It's a learned pattern. So being in that situation, you feel alone. You feel like you don't know who to turn to. And so I realized that it was a cycle, and it just kept going and going. With my children, even as adults, they didn't grow up respecting me. It's not because I failed. They grew up seeing it. They grew up seeing disrespect modeled at home. And then when you add a partner who's constantly criticizing you or just building you up to break you down, building you up to break you down, you feel trapped from every side. Does that sound familiar to anybody? I kept trying to make everyone happy on all sides, and I was exhausted. That was repeated narcissistic abuse and trauma bonding. The moment I realized I didn't have to accept disrespect from anyone, not my parents, not my adult children, not my ex-partner, life started changing. We don't have to choose between them. We don't have to choose between toxic people in our lives. You have to always remember patterns don't always break themselves. You have to make sure you pick up on the signals or the red flags. Before I continue, I want to speak a little bit on what narcissistic abuse is, and what is narcissism in full. Narcissism is a personality pattern where someone has an inflated sense of self-importance and a deep need for admiration, often paired with the lack of empathy for others. The core traits of narcissism: constantly seeks praise, validation, or attention, sensitive to criticism, even constructive feedback, lack of empathy, cannot genuinely understand or care about others' feelings, often dismisses or minimizes pain they cause. They believe they deserve special treatment or privileges, expect others to conform to their needs or their desires. They use tactics like guilt, gaslighting, or emotional abuse to get what they want. Can be charming initially. At first, it's all good, right? But it's often a way to control or exploit. Grandiosity. They have an inflated sense of self, exaggerated achievements. They feel superior to others even when evidence doesn't support it. Some common behavior you see in a narcissist, right? Starts with love bombing, showering someone with affection to gain control. Gaslighting, making you doubt your perception or memory. Then here comes the silent treatment, or emotional withdrawal, punishing without speaking. Blame shifting, never taking responsibility for their actions, and devaluation, criticizing or belittling you after initial idealization. Why it's harmful in families and relationships. In parents, you may grow up doubting yourself, always seeking approval. With children, parents can pass on patterns of entitlement or disrespect. And with partners in relationships, they often cycle through idealization, devaluation, then discard. This creates trauma bonding where you stay attached to someone despite repeated behaviors. Red flags to watch. You feel drained or anxious after interactions. You're constantly apologizing or explaining yourself. Your feelings are dismissed, minimized, or ridiculed. They give ultimatums, punish you silently, or flip between charm and criticism. Have you ever been in a situation like that, where you're always made to feel like nothing that you do is enough? Or they build you up, right? Like, you could do this, you're doing great, and blah, blah, blah. And then when things just don't pan out the way that they want things to pan out, right? All of a sudden, it's like you're just not enough. You're discarded, right? They turn you off, they ghost you. That's what they say, right? Um, you lose a sense of self-worth where it's like you start to lose hope. You start to wonder if you'll ever achieve anything, or even if you should keep trying. For me, it got to the point where I felt like I was chasing a dream. And every time I was like, okay, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And then here comes the silent treatment, right? I was like, what happened to all of this? Where did you go? Here I am alone again, trying to build myself up again. Once I did, there he comes back, and it's not just partners that do that. It's your family does that too. Your family make you believe that, unless you do what they want you to do, unless you go um, by their commands or whatever, you know, that's the only way you'll survive, without them. They'll support you, right? It's like fake support, right? They'll support you until you stop doing what they want you to do, and they withdraw, and you're left hanging. It's just a fucked up cycle. With your kids, it's like constant, um, not constant disrespect. Well, it could be, but it's like, as long as you're doing for them, as long as you're there for them, you know, um, that's all they know. Like, for example, your adult children, they keep you around because they need something, right? They need money. Or in my case, oh, they need a babysitter. They need somebody to watch their kids for them, and do this for them, do that for them, be there for them, except for yourself. You can't ever be there for yourself. It's what they want. The moment you set boundaries, and you don't do what they say, it's like anything and everything you've done for them didn't matter or doesn't matter. And you're the worst person ever, and they make you actually believe that you are the worst person ever. They'll use their own children, like my grandkids, against you. It's like a what do they call it, weaponization, right? They'll use their children against me, and make me look out to be the worst in front of them. And it's just because they didn't get what they wanted from me at that point. That's just the way it works, and it's for all three subjects, right? Either you do what they want, or you just become irrelevant to them. And it's an ugly feeling, for sure. And this is where you have to start picking up on patterns, picking up on the way people act. Like, once you set boundaries, will they still continue to be there for you? When things are not convenient, will they still be there for you? And the moment that you see that that's not going to happen, this is what's going on. They're using you, right? They're using you. They're breaking you. They build you up to break you down at their convenience. And that's a horrible cycle to live through. um,